The current director of ICE has reportedly been hospitalized multiple times for stress for carrying out Donald Trump's disgusting immigration agenda, rounding people up. Apparently, Todd Lyons, the acting ICE chief, continues to have panic attacks while he is working. In many instances, he's had to be hospitalized for the panic attacks and for the stress that he is experiencing. Politico got the exclusive. Let me go through some of these facts with you, because one of the things that apparently particularly stresses out Todd Lyons is when Stephen Miller yells at him, and he says he doesn't like being yelled at. And lots of his colleagues and people around him say that he shows up to work visibly sweaty with the red face, that he paces around, that he's unable to speak coherently because he's so consumed by the stress of his job. And his job has apparently been sending ICE Gestapo on the street, rounding up migrants, killing them, putting them in concentration camps, harassing citizens as well, and destroying people's lives. And I think this is a really important story as well to talk about, because I think you also need to know that we, the people, hold power, and we need to always make sure that it's, whether it's people like Todd Lyons or Stephen Miller or others, actually feel pressure and feel that accountability is coming for their horrible actions. They should feel guilty because they are guilty. They should be shamed because they're involved in shameful conduct. And we, the people, should call them out for their behavior. And Todd Lyons should know that when he's done with his term, that there will be states across this country, DAs across the country that will go and prosecute him, that will try to throw him in prison, that maybe Donald Trump has absolute immunity, and maybe Donald Trump may or may not give you a pardon at the end of his term. But there are state district attorneys ready to go. And if you are stressed right now, wait for 2 years. And to all the lawyers out there and all the people out there who think that they have some sort of game genie immunity from all of this, and that it's going to be just a walk in the park after they've tortured and destroyed and killed and hurt people's lives, you better be aware that there are people out there who you destroyed their lives, who aren't forgetting that you destroyed their lives. Let's just go through some of the story right here. Talks about how the acting head of Immigrations and Customs, Todd Lyons, has been hospitalized at least twice, maybe more, for stress-related issues as he carried out Donald Trump's agenda. The hospitalizations took place over the last 7 months. In one incident in December, Lyons' security detail drove him to a hospital in Washington, and he was admitted overnight, according to one former and two current administration officials. During an episode in September, the three people said Lyons was hospitalized for at least one night. In a separate incident in Los Angeles over the summer, Lyons became so distressed when ICE agents couldn't locate a migrant on their target list after a ride-along with top regime officials that one of his bodyguards took a portable defibrillator from a nearby government office to Lyons in case he needed medical intervention. During these episodes, the current and former officials said they saw Lyons break out into a full sweat, with his face turning deep red. They also attributed the source of the pressure to ramp up deportations to Stephen Miller, who yells at Lyons during morning phone calls with administration officials, according to four people who were on those calls. Then it says other officials dispute that Miller yells at him, but I think we all see Miller on TV, so we can use our common sense. Miller didn't respond for comment, and then goes on to say he would be visibly upset and struggling to make the decisions that were needed to be made by the director, said one of the former officials referring to Lyons. One current official and two former officials also said that Lyons often takes a long time making decisions, forcing his deputies to do more work. All four people who were interviewed for this witnessed or were briefed in an official capacity on at least one of the stress-related episodes. Each was granted an anonymity for this article. Asked about the incidents, Lyons said in a statement, the stress he experienced wasn't due to the White House, but he did not address the hospitalizations. Goes and talks about Lyons' career. He joined ICE as an immigration officer agent in 2007. He climbed through the ranks. And says how he has not been able to hit Trump and Miller's quotas and targets. And then it talks about when he was being cross-examined during a hearing, and it mentions Congressmember Swalwell cross-examining him as well, and how that was very stressful for him. One current official says what he's experiencing and Miller yelling at him, quote, that's going to create some significant psychological pressure. So he's saying he's very psychologically damaged by Stephen Miller and Donald Trump being mean to him. I want to bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast. Quite the interesting exclusive here, where you have someone overseeing an entity that has caused such destruction, death, devastation, pain, suffering, cruel and unusual torture of so many people, and the guy at the head of it is having panic attacks, psychological breakdowns, emotional distress, being in charge and being the person put there to do it. I mean, you have options. I mean, you could resign. You don't have to be the chief of the torturing entity. You don't have to do that job. That's one potential option for you. I think that's probably what you should do. Or if you're going to do the job, it's just, I don't know what to tell him, Harry. I mean, like there are so many people who are really suffering, and this guy's out there saying, "Don't be mean and yell at me" or whatever. Yeah. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, and look, you can take it from his point of view, but to me, Ben, this is a story about ICE and Stephen Miller and Trump. We've known again and again, we've seen this vis-a-vis DOJ, for example, they do whatever they want. They almost seem to invite or want to maximize cruelty and nastiness. Think of Abrego Garcia, who for a year now, for the great sin of being swept up by them unlawfully, they're now trying to do everything they can to send him to some hellhole. That's who these guys are. But imagine what it's like in the middle, because you're exactly right when you talk about we the people. They are moving uphill against what? Against American sense of decency, against common morality. So you need a screaming bastard like Stephen Miller to drive this poor, drive a guy like Lyons, and you need, and Trump as well. That's how things like this have to work. This is complicity, right? How do you get even supposed loyalists to go do really inhumane, barbaric things? And you have to drive them like crazy. You're, frothing at the mouth and all kinds of loyalty tests and the like. That's who Stephen Miller is. I remember always the Kristi Noem quote. Well, everything I did because of President Trump and Stephen. That one word identification shows who's the big boss in charge. That's exactly who he is. And don't think for a moment that means just calmly issuing orders. What it means is actually stripping people's humanity away to make them do the inhumane Trump immigration initiatives. That's who he is. And that's the real victims, of course, are who you name, the hundreds who have been sent away and will never again see the United States and didn't have due process. But in between, to really do Trump's job, you've got to overcome any vestiges of human impulses and decency resting in the bureaucracy. That's who Stephen Miller is. That's what ICE is.
Harry, when you think about the bureaucracy, and having leadership roles, accountability. I mean, you led the Western District of Pennsylvania. It's a big office. It's a tough job. I mean, part of being a leader, you make tough decisions that impact lots of people's lives. And of course, it's very stressful. But ultimately, when you follow the law, when you have principles and values, when you go through clear guidelines, I think that that's something that helps people sleep at night, with tough decisions that have to be made. And there's a difference between the stress and normal stress of making tough and difficult decisions through the normal course and scope of work, and then making decisions that, you're quite literally haunted by the fact that you're like, when he goes to sleep at night, you should know that you killed 40, 50 people last year in ICE detention centers. And that this year it's close to 10, 11 already, with multiple people on the street, whether it's Preti or whether it's Renee Nicole Good. There's, other individuals as well. You're leading an organization that killed people, and not,
and not just deaths. You're housing them by the hundreds and thousands in these real hellholes. First, thank you for your point. It's true, and I'm not patting myself on the back. It really is the ultimate kind of consolation or reassurance. You did the right thing. That was your North Star. You did the right thing. Even if things go awry, you did the right thing. On the contrary, though, with guys like Lyons, there's a whole literature on this, right? This is, the sociology of Nazi collaborators or others who were complicit, the stress of being forced to basically, just abandon whatever kind of human instinct is in your soul, that is grating and dehumanizing and stressful in a whole different way. I'm not surprised this guy is red in the face and goes to the hospital. He's the receiving line, right? He's the first line of defense between everyone he's got to boss around and really the monster and the indifference to humanity monster that is Stephen Miller. And man, that is stressful.
Harry Litman runs the Talking Feds YouTube channel, Talking Feds Substack, and Talking Feds podcast. It's where I get my legal news from, where you should get your legal news from also. Go search Talking Feds on YouTube right now. Subscribe to Talking Feds. And you can also subscribe to Scott McFarlane's YouTube channel also. But Talking Feds, Scott, two people who I love working with who just break it.
Congrats on McFarlane. What a coup for the Meidas Network.
Absolutely. Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.